Snap is a block programming language. It was developed and hosted at the University of California at Berkeley. Before you begin, you'll need to get a Snap account. You can get that at snap.berkeley, berkeley, .edu. And once you've got an account, then you can begin programming in the Snap language. The Snap workspace has a code palette on the left-hand side of the screen with code blocks, a script area in the middle, and then a stage on the right. By default, there is a turtle in the middle of the screen. That's this triangle that can move about the screen. So we'll begin with the motion palette. All the motion commands are shown in blue. The code blocks are blue. So I'm going to drag the turn command over and enter 90 degrees. Each time I click the code block, the turtle will turn 90 degrees. Now we're going to move on to the control palette, which is in yellow. And I'm going to add a 1-second delay after each turn. And then I'm going to drop the code block, these two code blocks that I've snapped together, and drag that into the C-shaped opening in the middle of the forever block. Snap is called snap because the blocks snap together much like Lego blocks. When I click this script, this group of blocks snap together is called a script. The turtle will turn once a second and keep doing that until I stop it. I can stop it by clicking on the script like this, or alternatively if there's a stop button in the upper right hand corner of the screen. So at this point we may want to add a sound, and the sounds are in this mauve or purple category of the palette. If I click the sound tab, I can record a sound if I press the record button, or I can go up to the file menu and look at some of the built-in sounds. For example, this is a finger snap. I can import this. If I highlight this block, then I can import it. Once I've imported it, I'll cancel the sound dialog box, and now I'll have a sound in the work area of this particular sprite. I can play the sound just by dragging the play sound block over. Now the drop-down menu will show my one sound, a finger snap, and I can add that in. So let's add this to the script. And we get a sound each time the turtle turns 90 degrees. Now we're going to go to the variables palette, which is in purple. We're going to make a variable to keep track of the seconds. So I'll click make a variable, and then I'll type in seconds. And at that point I have a variable named seconds. This has a watcher that lets me watch how many seconds elapse. The checkbox here can be used to take that off the screen or display it, depending on whether I'd like to see it. So in this case, I'm going to start out and set seconds to 0 at the beginning of the block, and then I'm going to change the seconds by 1 every turn. So now when I click this, it'll give me in effect a timer. 1 second elapses every turn. So this is a fairly good start. I now, in essence, got a timer. And since that's what this sprite is doing, this would be a good time to name it, and I'm just going to call it timer because that's what it does. Currently, the turtle is draggable. I can drag it anywhere across the screen I want and position it, so if I wanted to put it here, I could just drag it in like that. However, if I don't want it to be dragged, I can click that off, and now it will stay in one place. Now, I've got seconds, and so let's see what else I might be able to do. With the timer, I might like the ability to stop the timer at some point. Of course, I can stop it like this, but There's a presentation mode that looks like this. If I click this double arrow, then it's in a presentation mode, and this presentation mode is very much what a user would see. And we'd like to give them a way to stop and start the timer without going into the script area. There is a way to do that using the control palette. I can grab a command that will say when a certain event occurs to do something else. And this, so in this case, I'm going to go to the sensing palette. Sensing palette lets me monitor things, what's happening on the keyboard, what's happening with external inputs, what's happening with objects. And in this case, I'd like to determine when a key space has been pressed. And note that the palette, the sensor commands are in the light blue palette. When I go back here, I can say, let's just stop everything when the spacebar is pressed. So that says just stop the program. So I'm going to start the timer, and it's going, and then when I'd like to stop the timer to time some event, I can press the spacebar and it stops it. So now I have a timer that I can start by clicking on this, or alternatively, if I add the green flag block at the top, then I can start everything just by clicking the green flag. And so that gives me a way of starting it by clicking the green flag and stopping it by pressing the space bar. We now have a complete working program, so this is a good time to save. We're going to use this Save As option under the File menu. And I'm going to call this Timer because that's its main function at this point. So when I click Save, then the program will save, and we'll see up at the top the new name, Timer Program. Now, at this point, you may also want to share your program. So if I do Save As again, one of the options, if I scroll down to the Timer Program, which is here, if I click Share, that will allow me to share it with other people. And I can give them a link to the file. So then I'm going to say Save. Actually, I'm not going to say Save because I don't need to do that at this point. I'm just going to click Cancel get out of the dialog box. Now, the next time I pick up with working with the program, it will be available. So at this stage, once someone else goes into the program, it will launch like this, and then when I click the green flag, the timer will go, and I can stop it by pressing the space bar. So this is a good stopping point. In the next segment, we'll learn how to add minutes and seconds to our timer and learn about if statements. But at this point, we're going to wind up this podcast and hope that you have been successful in your initial introduction to Snap and that you enjoy the creative possibilities.